When I was 12, I came to the conclusion that everyone in the world, including my own family, was against me. I was never a problem child, but my parents sure treated me like one. For example, I used to need to be home by 5 p.m. every day. This clearly restricted my amount of playtime outdoors. I wasn't allowed to have friends over to play at the house, nor was I allowed to go over to anyone else's. I had to finish homework directly after I came home from school, no matter how long it took. My parents refused to buy me games or cell phones and forced me to read books and then write a book report on them to prove I actually read it. Now, even those rules listed above were quite frustrating to me as a child, they aren't what upset me most. What really hurt me was the lack of compassion on behalf of my parents. My mother was a bitter woman who always made me feel guilty of accidents or mistakes I've made. My father only knew one emotion: frustration. The only time he spoke to me was when he screamed at me for receiving poor test scores or beat me for misbehaving. Dad, I'm headed to school.
If you want dinner, be back by 5.
But enough about them. Let's talk about my school's psychologist. For his own privacy, we call him Dr. Tanner. Like most junior high schools, a psychologist is always available on campus during school hours to assist any students in need of counseling, whether it's emotional, academics, social, behavioral, etc. To be honest, I have never seen any students talking with Dr. Tanner. Every day I would walk past his office on my way to the cafeteria and peek through his door's little window. He would always be alone in there, working on some paperwork. I guess that most kids were too afraid to speak about their problems to an adult who was practically a stranger. For this reason, it took me 3 weeks to muster enough courage to go into his office. March 2nd, 2012. That was the day I decided to voice my troubles to Dr. Tanner. During lunch break, I stood in front of his office door and knocked. Through the window, I could see him raise his head, smile, and motion me to come in. I did.
Hello, Dr. Tanner. Please have a seat.
Dr. Tanner was a very soft-spoken man who seemed to radiate kindness. In less than 30 minutes, I rambled to Dr. Tanner about how mean my parents were to me and how they didn't care about me at all. After a while, my voice began to quiver and I stopped talking. The psychologist listened patiently to my whole spiel, arms folded and head nodding. I half expected him to begin talking about how everything I had just said was untrue, and that my parents loved me dearly and blah, 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 but he didn't.
You know, I'm the best school psychologist in the world. We will fix this problem.
Okay, but how?
I have my ways, and I'm a man of my word. I promise that within 1 month, the relationship between you and your parents will change for the better forever. But I do need you to make me a promise. Make me a promise that you will come to my office after school tomorrow, and you won't tell anyone that we had this conversation today. It'll be our little secret.
The following day, I returned to Dr. Tanner after school. It was around 4:00 p.m. when I entered his office. After a warm welcome, he asked me to have a seat in front of his desk once again. Upon sitting down, I watched Dr. Tanner close the blinds of the door's tiny window.
Now we have all the privacy we need.
We began to talk about my likes and interests, my favorite subjects in school, my least favorite teachers, and things of the like. About an hour into the conversation, Dr. Tanner offered me a soft drink. I gladly took the offer, considering my parents never allowed me to drink soda. Afterwards, we continued to talk about what was going on in my life. But it wasn't long before I passed out from whatever drugs Dr. Tanner placed in my drink. It took me a minute or so to adjust my blurred vision upon waking, and when it did, I had no idea what to think. I was handcuffed to a bed, and my mouth was sealed with duct tape. I immediately began to panic, squirming and tugging at the cuffs, but gave up soon after. My eyes widened in disbelief after looking around the room. My stomach sank once again as the door opened, and Dr. Tanner walked inside. He sat down
Now,
on the edge
listen.
of the bed.
Remember that I'm here to help you, and that would never hurt you, okay? Now, you're going to be staying with me for a while. And while I'm here, feel free to play with any toys in this room. But when I leave, I have to tie you back up. But you can still watch TV, though. Only the news channel, though. You can go ahead and knock yourself out. I'll be back when it's time for dinner.
Several more minutes passed before I realized that Dr. Tanner wasn't joking. At about 7:00 p.m., Dr. Tanner returned to the room carrying 2 plates of mashed potatoes and chicken strips. I finally gathered up the courage to ask him how long I'd be staying in this room. How long am I going to be staying here?
Well, about a month. Give or take a few weeks, because I have some work I have to do. Hey, but you ain't gotta wake up right now if you don't want to, but I have to put these back on you.
reporting live from Channel 4 News. A statewide Amber Alert has been issued as of this morning. The police have several investigators working towards identifying potential abductors, but as of right now, there's not much evidence. Faculty members state that the girl had been last seen around 4 or 5 in the evening on April 4th, 2012.
I began to feel nauseous as a photograph of me appeared on the screen. It was my yearbook picture from last year. Captions for the photograph displayed my name and age, my school, and my town. Above the picture were alternating titles. FBI begins search for child. Kidnapping suspect unknown. Potential runaway. As my mom and dad both appeared to have reddened eyes, tears streamed down my mother's face as she took hold of the microphone.
Okay, I know this is probably hard on y'all, but could you please give us some insight on how you feel on the child missing case? Just please bring my baby back, please. I'm so sorry.
Honey, I know we haven't always been there for you, but we need you home. Whoever has her, please just bring my baby back.
I felt miserable that my parents were being put through so much, but at the same time I felt relief. I now know how much my mom and dad love me. Nearly 4 weeks have passed, and Dr. Tanner has been treating me with the utmost respect. He leaves me in the morning cuffed to the bed frame, but returns in the afternoon to eat lunch and dinner with me, talk and play games. I never would have guessed how good Dr. Tanner was at Monopoly and Scrabble. But one morning, when Dr. Tanner woke me before heading off to work, I noticed a stern look on his face. I also realized that it was 3 hours earlier than when he usually wakes me.
Today. No exceptions. I want you to watch TV all day and pay very close attention.
Okay, I will.
Promise?
I promise.
Good morning, this is Jessica Sellers reporting live from Channel 4 News. We are displeased to bring up such unfortunate news this morning regarding our missing child case from earlier this month. Remains of the body have been found in a garbage bag beneath the highway overpass. The body appears to be that of the child, although not much of it was left. The body has been decapitated and much was burnt to ash and bone. Within the bag, police also found a junior high school identification card identifying the child.
I made you a promise, didn't I? I need you to make me a promise again. I need you to drink all the liquid in this cup. And I need you to make sure you don't tell anyone you ever met me. Promise?
Yes, I promise.
I told you, I'm the best school psychologist in the world, didn't I?
Yes.
Oh my God. Honey, come here.
Dr. Tanner was right. Things have changed with my family and I. My parents smile more often and treat me lovingly. I could not ask for a more perfect ending. Every now and then I see Dr. Tanner on campus, walking to and from his office. Rarely do we ever make eye contact, let alone speak to one another. But sometimes he'll shoot me a wink and a smile. I'll always keep my promise to him and pretend I have never met him. But there will always be one question forever floating in my mind. Who did Dr. Tanner decapitate and throw off the overpass?